In this video, we are going to discuss what are different kinds of assumptions that that we make uh, while building the multiple linear regression model. And this is the fourth video in the session in the series of multiple linear regression. I would like to begin this video with one my quote that when we get wrong results, even after the executing a process as told to do so, we need to double check our assumptions rather than the process. We saw that while explaining the multiple linear regression model, either using the OLS or gradient descent algorithm, we saw that there are multiple steps are there. Here we execute the various kinds of linear algebra operations, and in this case, gradually we take the partial derivatives of different terms with respect to beta I. And even though we have calculated all these very accurately, then also our results are getting wrong. Then it is need to check the assumptions that we have made are valid or not valid. And while developing a multiple linear regression model, we typically make many assumptions, and those assumptions are called as the first assumption is known as the linearity assumption. The second assumption is known as the constant error variation um, assumption. The third kind of assumption that usually we made is called as the independent error terms, and fourth one is the normal errors, and the fifth one is the no multicollinearity. I am going to explain all these terms one by one in this video, and what are its causes and what are its remedies to overcome those assumptions, that also I am going to explain. So while building any linear regression model, we assume that there exists a linear relationship between independent variable, what we call it as the independent variable, and dependent variable, and there exists a linear relationship between them. And if this assumption is wrong, then all the conclusions that we draw from the model that we have built are also going to be wrong. In case of the multiple linear regression, the equation is expressed by this term. And here at this moment, I would like to clarify one of the important misconception between that. If an equation involves the terms like this y equal to, suppose that y equal to beta 0 plus beta 1x and plus beta 2x square. Here are this equation is also a linear equation, even though there involves a term, a quadratic term, because what here we are going to plot is that the variation between the x square and the y need to be linear one, and if that relationship is linear, then we call that linear assumption is valid. Now when sometimes what will happen that this assumption goes wrong, or this assumption that we have made mm, is not valid for the given training data set. And now how to check that? Here I am going to introduce one of the most important plot for detecting different kinds of assumptions. That plot is called as the residual plot. We have seen the scatter plot. In the scatter plot, what we saw is that we plot different variables, either different input variables or the output variables, and that scatter plot gives us a rough estimate about what kind of different relationship exists between the different input variables and the output variables. Now, in case of the residual plot is typically drawn with respect to errors on the y side, on the y-axis, and the on x-axis we are taking the predicted value, not given value. Predicted value predicted by this equation, the equation that we have assumed, and this is called as the error term. The error term is taken on the y-axis, and the predicted value is taken on the x-axis. When we plot this graph, That plot is called as the residual plot. And this residual plot is a very useful plot in detecting what kinds of the assumptions that we have made are valid or not valid. We are going to see the different nature of the error plots in violating these assumptions. Now see here, here I have plotted uh, residual plot or the error plot for our example of predicting end semester examination marks from the mid semester examination marks and attendance. That was our multiple linear regression problem. And this is on the y-axis. I have taken the error term. Yeah, my error is varying in between from 0 to plus or minus 10. This is the my error that term. And if my the first value, suppose that the predicted value is like 10, then the error term is 5. 40, then also it is 5. So this is the error plot for the this example. And if you don't observe any kind of pattern in this error plot, then it means that the linear associationship exists between independent and the dependent variable. If you see that all the dots are evenly distributed among the positive side and along the negative side, and there is no pattern exists between on the error plot. If the no pattern exists, then it is an indicator that linear associationship is exists between the independent and the dependent variable. Now I will give you one plot. On this plot, that is the second plot, is the plot where the linear assumption is not valid. And if you see that in this error plot, there is such kind of pattern is there. Means that when you as the value of predicted value is increasing, initially it goes on increasing the values, and after some time it is decreasing the value. So this kind of pattern exists, and if this kind of pattern exists, it means that linear association does not exist between the independent and the dependent variable. So one way of detecting whether the linearity assumption that we have made is valid or not is by observing at the error plots. Another method is also there in the statistics. There is one method called likelihood ratio test, which gives us whether the assumption about linearity that we have made is valid or not. But the simple way of detecting the linearity assumption is through the residual plot or the error plot. See, this residual plot or the error plot is basically arises from the fact that incorrect form of function is, if we have assumed this kind of function like y equal to beta 0 plus beta 1 plus x and plus so on. If this form is not correct, then this kind of problem arises. And one way to overcome this problem is that either you can modify this function form like this beta 1 x plus beta 2 x square, or sometimes you can also take log of x also, log of x2, like this. You can modify the function and then build the model in order to remove the um, linearity assumption. And this kind of transformation is called as the nonlinear transformation. And typical examples of the nonlinear transformations, that is that you can make the you can take the log function of the input vector, square root function of the input vector, or square function of the input vectors. Here one example of a hypothesis function that I have given here, in which a function takes the form of quadratic functions. Now here the lung function is predicted from one parameter called age, and the form of function that we have assumed is like this: beta 0 plus beta 1 times age, beta 2 times age square. This is the typical function, that kind of function that you have studied in your geometry, like ax square plus bx plus c kind of function. So this is again the linear function. Here the output variable y is the function of the edge square, and this relationship is the linear one. So one way of removing the non-linearity function is to use the non-linear transformation like log x, square root x, and the square of x. So that was about the linearity. The second type of assumption that usually we make while building the linear regression modeling is the constant error variation. Means the variation of the variation that we observe in error terms is constant. Another and this is the variation formula that we have studied from the statistics. Sometimes it happens that the variance of the errors is not constant, and if the variance of the error term is not increases either with the increase in the value of responses, and again we can use the residual plot to detect the existence of the constant or the violation of the constant error variation. And the non-constant variances is also known as heteroscedasticity in statistics. This is very complex terms to pronounce. It is called as the uh, heteroscedasticity. If the non-constant variances are present and the constant variation is present, it is called as the homoscedasticity uh, for the constant variances. And you can check whether the constant variation is constant variance is present or not by using the residual plot. I will show you the residual plot. So this is the residual plot that we have got from our running example of predicting end semester examination marks from the mid semester examination mark. And this is the another second example of a error residual error plot. We need which the data set I am not giving you. This kind of residual plot present when the heteroscedasticity is present or non-constant variation is present. See here, this is the residual plot, and here the error terms are present between the plus or minus 10 or 15, and uh, you will get the shape like this. This is called as the funnel shape, and if you observe that the as you go on as the value predicted value or y cap predicted by the assumed function goes on increasing, the variance also goes on increasing. See, this is the variance which is increasing. Earlier it was less, and then it was goes on increasing. If this pattern is there, then it means that uh, heteroscedasity. And heteroscedasity is a problem because we, in the presence of non-constant variation or the heteroscedasity, we cannot rely on the standard error in the predicted value. See, in the running example, the standard error that we have got is plus or minus 4, and this standard error that we have got out of our predicted model, we have no confidence on the this error term if the heteroscedasity is present. And how to remove that heteroscedasity, that is one of the problem. You can solve this heteroscedasity problem by taking the log of y, that is the y is here the output variable, and you can express the function in terms of the log of y like beta 0 x plus beta 0 plus beta times x plus uh, beta 1 x2 like that. So this is the one way of removing the heteroscedasity. Another way of checking or detecting the heteroscedasity from the statistics is that there exists a test called gold credit quant test and Brouch-Pagan test. These are the tests from the statistics which also gives you information about whether the heteroscedasity is present or not in your given training data set. So that is the second assumptions which is the problematic in many times. The third kind of error assumption that is problematic, and mostly it occurs in the time series data. In the time series data, see, So far the examples that we have seen are not the time series data. That was the called as the cross-sectional data. And in the time series data means that we are collecting the data from time wise. Suppose that we want to predict the arrival of a train, then we can know that at particular instance the train is at station 1, then another at times train at distance s2, or at time 3 t3 the train is at station s4, and this s1 s2 s3 are sometimes also indicated by the distance that it has traveled, 150 kilometer, then 200 kilometer, like this. This is one example of a time series data. And uh, independent error terms means that, if suppose that for this data instance, if you got e1 is the data error that you have got for the data instance 1, and epsilon 2 is the error term that you have got for the data instance 2, and it is not possible to estimate the sign of the e2 from the e1 or the epsilon 1, then it is called as the independent error term. But uh, if it is giving the indication of the, if it is the positive and it is coming as the negative, then error 3 is positive, then error 4 is negative. If such fluctuations are there and the first error term is giving the sign indication of the next sign of the next error term, then it means that the error terms are not independent. And when the error terms are not the dependent on each other, that problem is also sometimes called as the autocorrelation problem, and this is particularly present in case of the time series data. See, this is one example of the time series data, and this is the problem in time series data. And when this independent error terms is assumption of the independent terms is violated, then its consequences or the side effects is that the confidence and the prediction intervals will be narrower, and we do not have the it tries to underestimate the true standard errors. So suppose that I am estimating the prediction time with plus or minus 5 minutes of error, then this may sometimes be the underestimate in my prediction. So it happens when the independent error terms condition or assumption get violated. And independent error terms can be detected by plotting again a residual plot, and here we are plotting the residual plot with of error on the y-axis, and here we are not taking the predicted value. Instead of the predicted value, we are giving taking different xi instances, means first row in the data set, then second row in the data set, like that. And if you get the graph like this, like the fluctuations, then it means that the independent error terms condition has been, our assumption has been violated. And there are another kinds of tests are also available to detect whether the independent error term assumption is violated or not. In statistics, these tests are called as the Dublin-Watson test and Bush-Gottfried tests. Now, the fourth kind of assumption that we usually make while building the linear regression model is that we assume that the errors, see here means that errors are normally distributed. What does it mean by normally distributed? Normally distributed means that you have a bell-shaped graph like this. On here the x and here the frequency. And if this bell-shaped normal distribution gets about for errors, then it is called as the errors are normally distributed. Otherwise, these are not normally distributed. So this is the normal distribution of errors that I am showing for our predicting end semester examination marks from the mid semester examination mark. This is the error plot that I have got. This is the histogram. Normally, the normality test for the normal distribution is conducted by plotting a histogram. The distribution of error terms are the normal, and it can be detected by plotting histogram of error terms, and it will have a bell shape. And This problem, that is the normality of error, is not a serious problem as compared to other violation of the assumption, because you can remove this by having more data set, data instances, or increasing the data size. Now, the fifth kind of assumption that we usually make is that no multi-collinearity. We assume that the collinearity is present in between the input variable and the output variable. If this non-multi-collinearity assumption tells us that there is no collinearity is present between input feature 1 and the input feature 2, and if this collinearity is present between the input feature 1 and the input feature 2, then that is the problematic case. Here I am giving one example of predicting the body fat from three different parameters, like one is the weight, second is height, and third one is the body mass index. And the body mass index is calculated by this formula. It is typically the weight divided by the height square multiplied by the 100. Here there are three different kinds of the input features are there. These features are called as the weight, height, and body mass index. These are also called as our independent variable. And if there are such multiple independent variables are there, it means that this is a multiple linear regression problem. And in typically the non-multi collinearity is the assumption violated in usually the multiple linear regression modeling. And this tells us that there should not be any linearity between the one input feature and the another input feature. And how it can be uh, detected is either by plotting the scatter plot scatter plot between the two input features, or by defining the correlation coefficient. We have used the correlation coefficient, or the correlation matrix we have seen in the exploratory data analysis. Now see here, there is high degree of collinearity is present between weight and the body mass index, and the weight and the body mass index are both our input feature. High collinearity is present when the collinearity is greater than zero point 0.5. Ideally, it should be in case if it is greater than the zero point 0.5, means that there is high degree of linear relationship is present. Here weight and the body mass index are both input feature, and there is high degree of collinearity is present. You can check it from the scatter plot also. So this is the weight row, and this is the body mass column. So this is the weight body mass collinearity. See here, all these are the collinearity. This scatter plot indicates the collinearity, but there no collinearity is present between see here, mm, BMI and height, because it is 0.02. Then also height and weight, less collinearity is present. So these are not the problematic instances, but this linearity between the weight and the body mass index is a problematic here. And the violation of the multi-collinearity can be detected by looking at the scatter plot. Here again I am explaining, this scatter plot indicates is a collinearity between the body mass index and the weight. See, this is the body mass index and the weight. See, if the multi-collinearity is present in your data set or in the model, what are the problems is that one of the problem that you can detect in it also from the report that you get after building a linear regression model. See here, I have told you while interpreting the parameters of the linear regression model, the t statistic tells should be absolute value of the t statistic should be very high. See here, all the t statistics values are in the range between 1, 2, and 3. Now, in order to remove the multicollinearity, we need to eliminate some of the input feature, uh, or delete the input features from our data set. Now, when I build the same model, with by removing the body mass index, I will get a different set of parameters, and now you can check it. In this case, the T ratio is here always very high. Absolute value of the T0 is very high. See, this is 7, this is 17, and this is 9. Absolute value of the T ratio, and this indicates that there is no collinearity present. Another way in which you can check the multi-collinearity after building the model is that VIF. VIF is another parameter. VIF is defined as variation inflation factor, which is defined as the reciprocal of 1 minus R square, where the R square is our Pearson coefficient, correlation coefficient. And if this value 1 minus R square is above VIF, VIF is greater than 5, then it is the problematic case. See here, here the VIF is 217, 54 and 160. And here the VIF factor for weight is 1.35, VIF factor of 1, again height is 1.36, and it is below 5. When you have the multi-collinearity, then sometimes the p-value is also unacceptable one. Here the p-value is 0.06, and the acceptable p-value should be the less than 0.05. So multi-collinearity gives us uh, side effect of the multi-collinearity is that we can't rely on the errors that it will give. This error terms is not a reliable one if the multicollinearity problem is present. And in order to remove the multicollinearity from your model, you need to decide on which of the somehow which you need to decide that some of the input features needs to be removed, and then model need to be rebuilt. So these are the 5 assumptions that I wanted to cover in this video. And again, I am ending this video by the same quote. If you are getting the wrong results after building either the SLR, simple linear regression model, or multiple linear regression model, then double check our all assumptions. And in this video, we have seen that how the different assumptions are checked. Basically, the first 2 assumptions we can check it through by plotting the error plot, residual plot. In the third case, we can plot a residual plot with respect to y, and in the fourth case by plotting the histogram and by looking at the correlation matrix or the scatter plots. So these are some of the techniques for detecting the violation of assumptions that we make while building the linear regression model. Thank you.